Hey, Gabfocus. Tommy here with Storage Bug. Welcome to our 2023 year in review episode. Melissa, how has your 2023 been?
It's been fantastic, and now it's Christmas, and I am happy.
How many Christmas trees do you have decorated as we speak right this minute?
Actual trees, just 3, but now Christmas trees that have lights on them, like ceramic trees and things like that, I've got another 3 or 4 of those too, and yeah, so I've got lots of trees in the house.
Just what I would expect.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
yeah.
welcome. And y'all, welcome to this episode of Gap Focus. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're super stoked to invite some of the honestly, some of the industry's best. Some of the industry's like I want to say titans of the industry level people. And I some people I'm glad to have known for years and call my friends. So welcome to the stage, Jane, Nick, and Ginny. From my left, I'm going to go from left to right. Jane Sauls, welcome. How are you,
Hey,
Grandma?
hey, hey.
Just
Yes, I
sounds
am
right.
well.
We're so glad to have you here. So, I guess for the audience, in case they don't know these Titans, Jane, tell us who you're with, what do you do, and how long you've been in self storage.
Very good. I am Jane Sauls, broker at Saul Storage Group. We are just that. We are real estate brokers focusing on putting buyers and sellers together, and we're expanding our reach this upcoming year and covering more states than just in the Southeast. And we're also doing in this coming up year a new side of our company will be turnkey development that we are offering. So we're excited about that. I've been in the industry since 06-ish, I think it is. And so as Miss Jenny and we were all talking about earlier, that's kind of, that 7, 8, 9. I come in right as it kind of got a little sticky, and then rode that out and just come from the ground up development side of the world. And now I own and operate and broker deals. So glad to be here.
So glad to have you back to the
Glad to have
stage.
you. Yeah.
Yes. And Nick Newcomb. So I met Nick at my very first self storage event in Memphis at the Memphis Golf Club or P Club. And actually, that's where I met Melissa as well. That was 2017, August of that year. Y'all, I've known y'all as long as I've been in the storage business. But Nick, welcome back to the stage, man. How you been?
I'm great. I'm great. Yeah, Merry Christmas. And man, that's a long time ago.
Isn't that crazy?
That was fun. It's amazing to see how y'all have grown and how well you've grown this. It's a
It's
great part of the
amazing.
industry.
Yeah, we have some stats to share at the end, but no, it's been absolutely an absolute blast, man. But for the audience who doesn't know you, same question. So who are you? What do you do? And how long have you been in self storage?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Nick Newcomb, COO of Storage Max. We're in Jackson, Mississippi. We own and operate 33 locations in 3 states, still actively growing, have a couple ground ups going on right now. And this is my 10th year in the industry.
That's awesome, man. And of course, last but not least, I think anyone who's in Texas or New Mexico or Arizona, any states that Oklahoma that border Texas, Ginny, you don't need any introductions. But welcome. We're honored, first of all. We're proud, and I want to thank you for your 26 years of service to this industry. But welcome to the stage, Ginny Sutton. How are you?
Thank you, Tommy. I'm great. I'm always good when I spend time with you. You're such a light in this industry, and I don't have to say that, but it's true. We all know that. I know that you bring a lot to the table. You bring a lot of joy and a lot of learning, and it's been my pleasure to know you all these years.
It's very kind.
And I am Jenny Sutton, as he said, and I'm the executive director for the Texas Self Storage Association. We hit a milestone this year. We used to say we've got about 4,000 members facilities. Now we have over 5,000 because we did have a couple of the REITs join our association after all these many years. That was new in 2023. And so, when someone says, how long have you been in the industry? I feel like saying, well, not really yet in the industry. I am on the fringes. I've been watching all of you and observing and asking and answering questions and helping. but I don't own a storage facility. Maybe that will change after I retire. I have 5 more days before retirement. So, Jane, I need to get together with you so I can do about that. No,
Yes.
I'm kidding. But I've actually mentioned that a couple of times, and I've had people call me. They're like, "Hey, I have a facility for sale." It's like, well, I know a few brokers, so I can probably, find those. But it has been, when people ask me, and I'll try not to talk too long, Tommy, because I have a tendency to do that. There's something so special about this industry, and those of you who are new to it will find that. I don't know what it is. I've always tried to put my finger on it, as to why the people who own and manage and are vendors to the self-storage industry are so wonderful. But they are. There's something special. I worked in multifamily association before this. I was a teacher before that, and of all my experiences over the year, there's something truly special about people in self-storage. There really is. And, so I've for years have raved about our members. We think we've got the best members in the world. But, all of you who are listening and watching today, man, you're in a great industry. It's just a special place to be.
You're
That's
gonna
all
miss
I'm
it. You're probably not gonna go anywhere.
We'll see.
I'll see you in Austin next year for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Texas Association
I'll probably pop
conference.
up for that.
But y'all, welcome all 3 of y'all to glad you could join us to celebrate what a wonderful year 2023 has been. And again, thank you for all the kind words. But real quick, y'all, something new that's gonna happen today. We're doing a little raffle giveaway. So if you stick to the end, we're going to do all of our kind of announcements, and we got a few $100 Amazon gift cards. So stick around to the end. You got to be here to win it. But of course, Gabfocus is brought to you by our teams at Lighthouse Storage Solutions and our lovely pugs here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Normal sessions are like an hour long. Melissa and I will take turns asking questions, and we have the experts to answer them. Today's agenda. We're going to look back at 2023. We're going to look forward to 2024 with our magic 8 balls and see what that's going to do to us. And of course, we want to answer your live Q&A. So as y'all have questions to our experts, and we have lots of different expertise represented here, right? Jane brokers, not only that, but she owns her own facility. Nick owns and operates 30 plus facilities. Ginny knows everybody in the industry. So there's a lot of expertise here on stage today. So without further ado, Melissa, would you like to kick us off?
I would. So let's start first talking about 2023. What are some of the hardest challenges that operators had to face this past year?
Are we doing the poll? Are you connecting the
Nope,
poll?
you can do the poll if you want to. The polls launch. Y'all can do that's totally optional for the speakers. The questions that we're going to be asking are the ones that you're going to be answering.
So,
We should
hardest
know.
challenges of 2023.
I think Jane should go first.
You've been
Hey,
nominated.
I'll take it. I will take it. Okay, hardest challenges. Probably hard to narrow them down depending on where you're at and what market you're in. But from a broker perspective, talking to owners day in, day out, the slow rental activity has broke our owners' hearts and hurt their feelings. And where they really thought, and I say where they thought, we thought that we were on fire and knew that we were just amazing at what we did, are truly just having to reel it back in down to the fundamentals and start appreciating every time our phone rings, and the understanding of we have to truly convert that into a rental. On the expense side of things, you got property taxes and your insurance renewals. And I'm not even talking about the wind and hail and the coast folks. I'm just talking about insurance in general is seeing 30 to 50% increases. So I would say, your revenue's getting hit, and then there's some line items specifically, so that, to me, as operators, that's been the challenge, because you want to, truly just put a hedge around that NOI and get it in the increased direction, and you're getting hit on both sides of it negatively.
Yeah. I think a little bit of what Jane said earlier, just coming back to reality, is a huge challenge, because it was a really good run there. And this really end of last year was a change of the tide. And this year it's really been getting back to our roots of where we were in the mid to late 2000s, and showing our managers back to every call matters. You got to get out there and do grassroots marketing. You really got to get out and get involved in your community, get your name out there, because that's the way that we can set up ourselves apart from the REITs. We can't outpace their spending online or on Sparefoot or anything like that, but we can get out and get involved in the communities and show that we give back and get rentals that way. We didn't see that big of a hit on increases on expense side. We did property taxes always go up. Insurance was a larger hit than we're used to. Expenses did go up, while occupancy is definitely down. Won't say across the board, but on average, multiple points. We did finish, or are finishing, the year up on economic occupancy revenue. So revenue is not down. So we're still revenue positive. Just we got to refill that occupancy now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I can add to that, because I echo the same things. I was looking back, I pulled some of the magazines that we had this year down just to kind of glance over them and make sure I didn't hit any points or miss any points that we covered through the year. I was surprised Jane didn't mention, rising interest rates, because from the finance perspective, from people who are having to refinance their loans or look to build a new facility, that has been a big hit, obviously, those huge increases in interest rates. But from our members' perspective, one of the things I think they found challenging, in addition to the things that you two just mentioned, is bad behavior on the part of some of their tenants. And that might mean, that they're not paying like they used to. They might have had some trouble with their collections, or they're acting out for various reasons and doing bad things, or there's crime that they weren't experiencing before. So from the operation side of things, I'd echo what Jane and Nick both said. I think those are the kind of the key things. But you also saw a little bad behavior start to creep into the equation, that during the good times, when you could be picky, during COVID, when you had waiting lists and there were people begging to come and rent from you, it was a different deal. And now it's kind of like, do you take whoever comes in, whoever wants to rent from you, or can you still afford to be a little bit picky? Can you say no to the problem people? Can you evict them? Those kinds of things, I think, were starting to be more of a challenge, again, as part of the cycle of things being more difficult on the financial side, not just for you, but for your tenants.
That's interesting. So Melissa, I guess I'd love to hear your take on it. Like, what were some of the hardest changes or challenges that you all faced operating, 30 plus facilities earlier this year? What were some of the biggest challenges that you all saw across the portfolio?
I think, well, not only speaking from that experience, but also just a lot of the clients that I'm working with today, is just that mind shift of, I've got to get back into sales. It really matters how I answer the phone, and knowing that, we have these statistics that so often the first person that they reach, the first facility that the customer reaches, is who they're going to rent with. So it is your rental to lose. And how quickly are we losing rentals because the person on the phone is just doing a horrible job? Or how quickly are we losing a rental because our website glitches halfway through the rental process and they get tired of it and they move to the next group? These are your tenants to lose. So you have to be on your A game to make sure that you're actually capturing all of that possibility that comes in. You've got to look at it different. That we are no longer in the, if you rent it, they will come. As long as my doors are open, I can rent units all day long while I sit behind the desk and drink my coffee. That's not how it's working anymore. So that mind shift is a difficult one. So
there's a lot of Facebook and solitaire and Minesweep in 2022.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm trying not to be a bobblehead, because my head is going like this to everything Melissa's saying. But it's so true. And I mentioned in the lobby talk before that I had just rented a storage unit for the first time in many, many years. And being the customer and seeing it from the other side, it becomes very real to you that people are not putting enough effort into things.
That's
and
very true.
They got spoiled. And it's like, okay, you got out of your game.
How long did it take to rent your unit? I'm curious.
Days. I mean, several days. And I mean, we laugh, but I ended up going back and renting from someone I'd known for a really long time, even though they had the highest price in town, just because everything else was going so slowly. Now, I was not your typical tenant. I had my criteria. I was only going to rent from a member of ours. That was number one. I wasn't going to tell them it was me coming. You know, I had other things, and I did compromise in a lot of ways, but I kept finding myself thinking, would other people do this? Would they jump through these hoops? I mean, I think the answer is no, you know, and I ended up renting at a facility that only had one unit to rent. And it
Wow.
was interesting from beginning to end.
That
But I
really
cannot
is.
emphasize enough what Melissa said. And newer people, you'll feel like you're being fussed at, but it is one of those things where, you know, it's not a build it and you will come. You've got to work a little harder. You've got to really be, and Jane said it earlier too. I think that's the advice across the board. It's got to be a little tougher now, and you're going to have to really answer the phone. Like
Answer the
Shannon said,
phone. Yeah,
answer
I was
the
about to
phone.
say, Shannon in the
Yeah.
comments, amen, answer the phone.
Yes.
You know, I think this is it's going to be an interesting adjustment for some operators. I think Ginny, you mentioned earlier, like there are some newer operators who didn't know what time was like before you
Right.
just, you know, they didn't have to do real work. They're like, oh, this is why everyone wants to do self storage, right? So I think that's going to be interesting adjustment for some folks next year. And I think Nick, you said something I thought was really cool. Was like, is an opportunity to kind of get back to basics and make sure that we're answering the phone and we're doing sales training and also all those sorts of things. So we're definitely incorporating those elements into the 2024 Gabfocus agenda. So I'm excited about announcing some of those episodes later in this episode. But my next question is, outside of the challenge, what are some of the biggest changes that you saw in this industry? And these changes could be positive, negative, big, small. But what were some of the changes that you saw in this industry that didn't, you know, that were new, you didn't see happen in 2018 or 2015 or before? So what are some of the biggest changes that y'all saw this year?
I'm curious to see if Nick and I totally disagree on this, because in his comments earlier, he said, or maybe it was someone else who said this, that this is an industry that's slow to adopt technology. And I couldn't agree with you more on that. That is true. We all know that about this industry. But in 2023, what I saw was a lot more people embracing technology and
Oh, yes.
embracing, like I ended up renting this unit that I talked about with a remote situation. And this was a 30-year manager that I rented from, but I did not see this person. I
Mhm.
went to the facility, I got the lock off, I did not interact with the person face to face. This was an older facility, and I was really surprised to see them incorporating that remote management. But you know, they had some glitches along the way with their software. But I think people, maybe because they have to, are really embracing technology. They're really finally getting there and trying to look at AI and trying to look at some things that are out there. So I saw that a lot in 2023. I was constantly amazed that some longtime operators were finally getting comfortable with it.
I
It's
was
not
about to
going
say
quick.
you're thinking this guy will never switch.
I
This guy.
did so much. Yeah.
No, I
We all
did
know
say
the
that,
remote thing
Jenny,
was a
and
big
and I
debate.
agree.
Yeah, it was a big debate on remote management, and we can talk about that later. But this was just people that you didn't expect to see it. They've finally come to the point of realizing it's there to stay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, we're slow to adopt, but 2020 forced our hand on so many things. And the ones that didn't hop right on it and get it done then, I think everyone that actually cares about their property are adopting these technologies, first and foremost, online rentals. If you don't have online rentals, someone's going to go right past your website to the next website that does have those. But everything else you mentioned is true. Kiosks for one, but you almost don't need a kiosk because as long as you have online rentals, you just put a QR code up on the wall and you can do that as well. You're seeing a lot more two-way video communication, AI chatbots. In the past 2 years, that adoption has really grown across the industry, and we're going to see that really grow next year. into even phone conversations as well. So I'm excited to see how that's going to continue to progress.
Alyssa looked like she had pain
No.
when you said the AI chatbot. I saw a look of pain across her face.
No, it's just funny because I've actually got clients that are working on incorporating the AI chat box, and I was talking to him yesterday. He's so excited about it. But there's other things too that you have to work on besides that. Like if your manager's not answering the phone well, doesn't matter what the AI chatbot is doing over here. Like you've still got to basics. You can do all the bells and whistles, but if the basics are broken, you've got a fundamental problem. So I just have to keep going back to that, what Jane said. All of those things are great if you've got the
And we
basics
got
down
away
there.
from measuring it to a point. So now we really are refocused on measuring these things through mystery shops, internal and external, on making sure that the phone's being answered, but as well as you put in a lead or a reservation online, and we're measuring how quickly our manager picks up the phone and calls that online lead. If it's over 15 minutes, it's lost. So they don't get any points for that.
Wow.
So it's really great to measure those response times, both through the phone, make sure it's being answered, as well as the lead process online, as well as the reason I asked Ginny earlier is how long it took to rent the unit, because we do live in such a fast-paced environment now. So that's one of the things that we're measuring. We eliminated a lot of the paperwork about halfway through this year and some of the older data collection methods we were using. So we're really trying to speed up that rental in person as well. Online, we say we have a rapid rental, it's very quick, but in person it was still slow. So we're really trying to get that up to speed as well.
I love that you're taking the time to analyze those things and still honing, right? You're not just sitting and resting on your laurels. That's cool. But Jane,
Interest rates go up, we can work on operations a little more.
there you go. You're not busy buying and building.
That's true.
I love that. So your managers love you this time of year.
Yeah.
But Jane, my friend, same question to you. What were some of the biggest changes that you observed, witnessed, were a part of in 2023?
I think everything that they just said is one of the most important reasons for people to grasp the importance of the fundamental things is because of the continued consolidation of ownership. So not just the big guys in the REITs, but just those top tier operators are just, gobbling up more. Some investor business models are to buy individual stores and to put together a portfolio just to flip it up to the next level of investor. That's truly their business model. It's not, just to build up one property and flip it. The whole intention is to consolidate that. So the consolidation of markets is real. It's happening regardless of the size of the market. So the secondary, tertiary markets aren't safe from some of the top operators. And it's because of that use of technology, truly, that has opened up those doors. And we were forced, as Nick was saying, was forced to do this in 2020 on a large scale or kind of industry wide, But the good part about that, the general population and the customer was also forced, right? And so it played hand in hand. So consolidation is absolutely, that happens in about every industry, I think, in America, period. So if you are an independent store, if you're not competing today with a multi-store owner, you will shortly.
That's a good point. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
So to kind of come off of this, did you guys discover an area in all of this that you were actually weak, that you hadn't previously known about?
One that I somewhat found is following the REITs. It's never something I've wanted to or needed to do on some fronts. We can out-compete them through customer service, through actual boots on the ground answering the phone instead of it going straight to a call center, because you actually get to know the person that you're going to interact with from the customer standpoint. But we did finally have to cave a little bit on rates, and it was really hard to do. that was a big weakness for us. So,
But you didn't just jump straight to it just because the guys down the street dropped their rates. You kind of held on for a little bit.
yes, we tried
Yeah.
to. Can you hear me? My screen cut off.
We can
Yep,
still hear
yeah,
you
yeah.
and see you.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, it was trial and error. We started with just trying discounts and different discount plans and when to implement them based on what occupancies for that unit size and the unit group specifically. Because for those of you that don't know, you don't look at discounts as a whole for a property. Every unit group is its own product type. So we started there and then we slowly brought the rates down. But as we did that, we had to look at our revenue increase side when we were going to get the tenants with their rate increases and at how much average percentage increase we'd be doing in order to catch up. So the further we come down, the more we are having to catch up on the back end. And that's one thing the REITs just do phenomenally well is they can understand their demand in the future so that they can do stronger increases and understand that if they push people out, they'll be able to refill it with that future demand.
Well, and I think the customers almost expect it from the bigger guys. They know that that's going to happen, and it hurts a little more when a local owner increases the rate at the same speed.
Yeah,
And
velocity.
yes, and the same hard hit that the bigger guys do. They're like, wait a minute, I didn't know you were one of them, and that kind of can paint you in a bad light. So that's a really tricky spot to find yourself in. So
Yeah.
but I respect you for holding on as long as you could.
Still haven't given up completely.
Right. Don't.
For me, it was really having to practice what we preach on those existing customer rate increases when it meant they were going to be paying above what's now my street rate. That hurts my heart. So if that's a weakness, I guess so be it. So we, instead of doing it at 9 months, if that was the case, now we kind of pushed it back and we just give them a little bit longer. We do it at 12 months if you're already at what our new street rate is. And that's, Nick, I think the REITs do it good or so much better because they do know how to analyze that stuff, but they do it with no emotion and no concern or no feeling. Whereas I want to treat them, my customers, like I want to be treated.
No.
And I want to so we welcome the conversation from our customers when we do get that pushback, and we just work through that. Sometimes we just delay those rental increases for another month or two if they call us. And then sometimes it just is what it is, so to speak, because we have rising costs as well.
Right.
That's real. No, I think that is an advantage. I think you look at the advantages that independent operators like you all have, and then the advantages that a REIT might have, right? I do think, like, from a financial point of view, maybe not human aside, but like from a financial point of view, that is an advantage that the REITs do have. Is it's more spreadsheet driven, it's more data driven, and they've removed kind of that that emotion out of it. And so so it's like, hey, we have X number of people paying this rate. Let's just increase everyone by 7%, and now we make more money, right? And it becomes a more formulaic. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not even advocating for that, but I'm saying that is an advantage that the REITs have, that independent operators have to fight a little bit. Because like you said, you want to treat your customers the way that you would want to be treated.
Yeah. I think for me, that one of the important parts in that is making sure that the manager has been trained and comfortable and is empowered to have those conversations, and that she feels good when she goes home every day.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that.
So we have some good Q&As that might kind of go along with this because we've been talking about occupancy a little bit. So
Let's
you want
jump
to
in.
jump to Tim's here?
Tim, that's a good one. Yeah, Melissa, you want to go ahead and ask that one?
Yeah. What are the best ways to improve occupancy and retain customers longer, especially in the face of having to do those rate increases that you really hate to do? What are some ideas to help retain that?
I'm going to Nick. He's got the most stores of everybody.
Well, okay, those are two
I love how you guys keep nominating each other to answer this. This is great.
Those parts of the question are going to have to be treated independently, because improving occupancy and getting your average stay longer is separate. Improving occupancy, it depends on where you are and what type of facility you are. But one thing that you can do without going out and spending money like the REITs do is getting involved in the community, getting involved in your local chamber, going to ribbon cuttings, sponsoring a local soccer and football team, hosting events at your facility. Our Christmas charity is we raise pet food for local animal shelters, and we give people a small rent discount when we do that. And we just hosted our kind of ending event 2 weekends ago, and we had raised just over 12,000 pounds of food for the shelter, but it brought hundreds of people to the site. We had a Santa Claus dressed up in an empty unit so you can take pet photos with Santa. There's microchipping there. Outback Steakhouse was selling $5 plate lunches, and all the proceeds went to the shelter. So just different things like that to get people to your site. Foot traffic at a site, especially when it's clean and secure, they're gonna talk about it. And they might not rent right then, but they will tell their friends and family about it because they are so impressed with, I didn't know self-storage was really that great. So that's one inexpensive way to increase occupancy. The other ways, if it's a new lease-up store and you're really aggressive, is obviously Google AdWords and Sparefoot. But before you do those, make sure you watch some of Tommy's other information out there about getting your Google business profile set up correctly first, because that's number one online.
Yeah.
Now, managing, getting them to stay longer, that's a little tougher. You can, it depends on how elastic your customers are with the rate increases, but for one, just have a great manager. If your manager is creating those relationships and putting good notes in the system so that every time they come in, they can ask about Aunt Susie and understand the troubles that they're having in their life and what sent them to the facility. They stay almost for that relationship a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
That's
a
cool.
good point.
Yeah.
And that is something that your bigger guys are not doing either,
Love that.
is developing that relationship. So I think, again, goes back to basics of that grassroots relationship building.
Great answer, Nick. And I want to read the comments here in that question. So Jim from Bearcat says, we find that our web rates to be essential in improving occupancy. Name of the game is getting them in the units. We are aggressive on web rates and worry about the increases on the back end later, which is a great advice if you are active in revenue management. Jim, that's killer. And then Shannon says, hey, for current tenants, make it easy for them to continue working with you. Take payments on auto pay online by phone, automated means, mobile app, etc. Answer their calls when they call you. Have live chats, emails, respond promptly to voicemail messages. Be a good partner. I love that. I mean, I guess you can't really control, like, Ginny, right now you're going through a remodeling, right? And so the storage facility can't control how long your remodel, unless they bribe your general contractor. Be like, hey, I'm gonna give you.
Please no.
I'm gonna give you 20% of Ginny's rent if you delay this project.
Oh my gosh.
But beyond that, right? I guess you can't just treat your customers well, because you can't control their life circumstances, right? So those are great answers. So moving on.
I think Nick's tips are great. And one of the things that our members tell us about rental increases, because there were several prongs to this question, and I kind of read between the lines and assumed that the question they're really asking is, how do you keep people, even your longtime tenants, to stay if you have to raise their rent? And I think the key, and this is where the REITs really fail, I'll just say it flat out, is what your letter says and what it looks like and how friendly it is and how it explains things. Because I've seen so many examples of letters that are so cut and dried. Your rent is going up. Here's your new rate. And you just want to say, really? I mean, that is like a stab in the heart to your customers, your longtime customers especially. So there needs to be a rationale. And, there's some things, when members told me they did this, I had mixed feelings, because I thought to myself, as a tenant, do I really care that your property taxes went up by 100%? No. And you have to be careful about the way you word that. But the reality is, people understand inflation. They understand that their costs are going up too. Your costs are going up too. So when you have to raise your rent, they get it. On some level, they understand. Somebody was saying they haven't raised their rates. Our tenants have had the rates for 15 years. They're like, oh my God, 15 years. What else in the world can you look at and say the rates have stayed the same for 15 years? Can you find anything at all? I mean, I'm not sure there is a thing
Not
that
that's still in
exists.
business.
Yeah, well, and still be in business. Exactly. You're not
Right.
running a charity. You are running a business, and your expenses have gone up exponentially. And one of the things people can relate to and understand is that labor cost has gone up, and
Yeah.
you're having to pay your team more so that they can survive, because inflation has a trickle down effect. It's all the way down to the managers, and that has to be passed on to the tenants. So you have to be extremely careful in how you work. Tip for y'all, Tommy and Melissa, maybe something in the near future on how to word your increases and other notices that you send to tenants. Because we all know Tommy has a great way of, making even the worst things go down as if they weren't a terrible pill
Yeah,
that you had to swallow,
you gotta
so
have it sandwiched into some warm fuzzy. Okay, it's
do.
It's the
totally
Oreo
okay.
effect. You got
And you have to be
Exactly.
real though. You have to be real with people. They're
Yeah.
gonna see through any kind of BS. You can't just, throw
Yeah.
some random thing out
Mhm.
there, because it's gonna hit wrong. I mean, in my
Yeah.
case at least, that would make me want to move out more. If you sent me something that was so obviously false, I would say, I'm out of here, versus your
Yeah.
longtime tenants. This 15-year person, you definitely have an opening there. It's like we are so behind on raising rents. And we have found that in order to stay in business and to continue to offer you the service that you need from us, we have to raise rents, and we have to look at what other people are charging. So there,
Yeah.
my strong advice there is look at what you're sending out to people, whether it's emails, letters, whatever. I got in trouble. Yeah, I'm leaving, so I can get in trouble. You know, the REITs are sending a postcard that says, "Here's your new rate." Period.
Yeah.
The end. There are no warm and fuzzies. There is no rationale. That is just, we have done a market study, is what you will see on their notices. That is it. We have done a market study, and that does not make people feel good in any way. So take advantage of the fact that you're not a REIT, you're a small operator or an independent operator, and say it in a way that's not going to cut your person to the quick. They're
And
going to read it, take it in, think to themselves, okay, you're going up. I don't like that. But they're going to read it again, and they're going to say, okay, but you've explained to me why. And there's something real about that. And
That's
so
cool.
I won't preach on that, but I will say people need to really look hard at what they're sending out as communication.
I love
well,
that.
and I'll go back to what Nick said too about the grassroots earlier and having that relationship in the community. That's a prime time for you to be showing your community all the time the little improvements that you're doing and making to your facility to keep it on par, so that when they do get those notices about rate increase, they understand why. Because you've been talking up those things. You've been talking up your new payment app, and you've been talking up, look, our managers are out on the site and they're doing their spring cleaning today. And so you're constantly talking about how you are keeping your facility looking the best that it can and bringing in new innovation and making the process easy for them, so they're not as surprised. So your grassroots is more than just advertising to get immediate business. Some of it is just, it is marketing your brand for what it is, to show the value that you are going to push out in rate increases.
I love this conversation because, like, something we like to say around here is like everything communicates, right?
Mhm.
Literally, the words that you write and send to your customers, that's literal communication. But all the actions that you do, the grassroots stuff, I saw Danielle, they're going to do some sort of like, they're going to take advantage of their lot and do a farmer's market at their site. Like, these are all things that communicate to your community that, hey, we're still storage isn't just this weird industry, that we actually are kind of cool.
Yeah.
Melissa, on your note of making changes, and Tommy on communication, one small thing, if you have a reader board outside that you can put letters up on and it just says 10 by 10 through 10 by 30, take that down. Nobody wants to read that every time they pass your site for 25 years.
Right.
If you
Yes.
want them to turn their head and look at your store, change it weekly.
Yes.
This week, put up for lease Navidad. It's a play on Christmas. Still one from us.
There you go. I love that.
Good
All right, so
jokes, quotes. So make it fun. Make it fun.
make it fun.
Mm.
We actually, we should talk about that. That should be something we should do next year, is like the top 100 or top 10 board sign message
There've been
ideas.
some
There we
great
go.
I have a
ones out
list going
there.
in notes, Tommy. Every time I see one, I add
There,
it
there we
give to
go,
my
Nick. We'll,
team.
we'll have you back on for that episode. All right.
Good.
So before we look into 2024, I think we'd be remiss to not talk about the REITs briefly, right? So what did y'all notice that the REITs were doing, changing, experiencing this year, and then speak to how did their decisions impact your strategy? Nick, you talked a little bit about that in you know, how you kind of held out as long as you could with rates. Ginny, you even mentioned, I think during lobby talk, that the REITs have joined the Texas Self Storage Association for the first time ever. So what are some other trends or things that you noticed that the REITs were doing that might be intriguing heading into 2024?
I
Jane
don't,
talked about consolidation, so that's
mhm.
it's still continuing. And with
Continuing
extra space.
consolidation, but it was very surprising to me, and I should have expected it though, that with the Life Storage and Extra Space merger, and I don't know if there are
Mhm.
people out there that don't know this, they are not merging brands. They found value in keeping separate brands to eat up more real estate on Google, to push your website further down, and to further just put their brands out there so that when they do rate increases in the same market where they have two different brands competing and they could potentially tick one off because they sent um, a postcard instead of a very sensible letter that had some love and feel in it, they'll go right to their other facility. I was very surprised at that.
I think that's pretty shrewd of
Nick,
them.
do you think that was more because of the cost of rebranding?
According to Joe's keynote, it was more for the online presence.
Interesting.
But who knows?
Maybe it was a little
Cost definitely had to have
combination
part
of
of
both, because
it.
Life Storage had just rebranded just a few years before, when maybe it's longer than I realized. They went from
Yeah,
being Uncle Bob's to
Uncle
Life Storage.
Bob's.
It's been a
Yeah,
while, but they
yeah.
had a pretty nice brand. I think that's the other thing that worked in their favor is, okay, if Extra Space was going to buy XYZ facility that doesn't have a brand and doesn't look good and doesn't sound good, Life Storage looked good, sounds good, it's like, why mess with that? But you're right. That's a competitive disadvantage for you now if you're in their market, because now they're competing with both of those brands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jane, question for you.
Yes.
Now that we talked a lot about 2023, right? We had a lot of lessons here. So looking forward to next year, right? In 2 weeks, basically, right? 2.5 weeks, we're gonna be writing January 2024, which seems crazy. But are there any industry trends or technologies that you're expecting to see more adoption of, or anything that's brand new that's going to be announced into our industry heading into next year?
I think 2024 is going to have that continued buzz of consolidation. And I think that independent owners and small store operators are going to have to implement, we still have some more than what we would like to talk about, probably, that don't even have management software. We have folks that do finally have management software, but it doesn't even communicate with their access control. And then we won't even throw in the third piece of the website and the online part. Yeah. So I think that those folks, as they age out and sell, if they're going to they're not going to reap a full value that they could for their facility if they have not implemented and kind of done a retraining of their existing customer base. So the consolidation, huge. I think we're going to continue to see from a customer base that customer is changing. Ginny mentioned it earlier as reference from bad behavior and acting out. We have the exact same product that serves each customer of the economy. So we've been having, the happy customer is what I've always called them. I'm selling my house for, a life-changing money. I don't care how much my storage unit is. I just need one. Those same people have never had the thought process of I've got to replace my home that I just sold for life-changing money. But that's a whole different story that they don't seem to address. So that's the customer we're coming from, and we're going to transition into that downsizing customer. I'm already having a couple of small businesses to actually close up shop and put their inventory or equipment in storage. And so it's the not so happy customer that we're going to start seeing in 2024 is who we're going to start. And that's one of the reasons you see kind of in my opinion, a stalling of that rental season and that rental traction, right? And we've seen that in the last downturn when we have to transition from the happy to the not so happy. And the folks who suffer during that time is that lease up facility, right? Because the stabilized folks, the folks just kind of ease out as the others ease in. And they, they don't like dropping down to 85% occupancy, but they work through it, right? It's those lease ups that can't gain traction on their pro forma that they were expecting. That's the problem. So I think that, the customer base is truly going to change as even though we're going to see the interest rates kind of ease back down some. So that's kind of the big changes of what I think we're going to see. I also think we're going to see a lot more transaction volume next year in our industry. I do, and I don't think that just the interest rates were the reason for the low transaction volume this past year. If you think about how many people sold before that year and for about 18 months there, everybody who is a seller probably for the next 3 years sold during that time. So all of our natural sellers for this year already sold.
Yeah.
Just in general terms are speaking. And so next year we're going to have those, I'm going to call them natural sellers, to come back to surface. They're going to be ready to retire. They're going to be ready to move on. They're going to want to exit that partnership, whatever that need is. And so I think that there's going to be a lot more of that natural, or back to reality, I think is what Nick called it earlier. And their expectations are going to be hopefully much more reasonable.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so, because unfortunately, I do feel like during the craze, when we were seeing double-digit 15 to 20% same-store increases, people were using that in their model, both buyers to the banks and both sellers to get the highest price possible, along with the broker group, some out there. And unfortunately, some of those people are going to potentially be in trouble as well. I think we're going to see some distressed assets coming up soon, whether that is new construction or just existing assets that were overpaid for and they weren't able to hit the rent projections. And they either have to do a capital call from investors and pay down the debt, or if that's unable, then the people that are sitting on the sidelines are potentially going to have a good year in acquisitions in 24. I do see that. I think we're going to see it uptick while 23 was really slow. I don't know if it'll get back up to 21 or 22 levels. Hope so, but maybe more reasonable projections. Some of the other changes that I foresee in 24, kind of what Ginny was saying earlier, continued adoption of newer technology. So with this past kind of crazy few years we've had, private equity coming in the industry, there's all this new tech and tech competitors that have now flocked to the industry. We're used to, for keypads, you had 2 or 3 options. Websites, you had 2 or 3, 4 options starting in 2017. And then, we really didn't have that great of tech in the industry for so long there. And now there's just new stuff flocking to the industry every day. So we're really going to continue to see that rapidly adopt. And I'm excited for that.
And I'm going to say something completely different, Tommy. I think 2024 is going to be the year of marketing. I think, I've seen those cycles. And I noticed over the last couple of years, it seems like marketing took a kind of a back seat in a lot of people's minds because things were so good. And you talked about it, Tommy. We've talked about it a couple of different times about them getting this mindset of, I don't need to market anymore. And I do want to give a shout out to all these managers who are putting their comments in the chat. And sorry, Tommy, after doing so many of my own webinars, I can't help it. I'm reading them and trying to kind of look at them and keep up with them. They're very creative And I think it's going to be the year of creativity and marketing because you got to stand out. Nick said it, everybody has said it. You can't compete with the REITs online. You just can't. They have it sewn up across the board. They will always be the top results. Now, the one that kills me is when you do a search and they don't even have a store in that market and they still come up. And you're like, well, why are you in this market? Why are you paying for keywords in this market when you don't even have a facility here? And they still dominate, and so they've thrown a ton of money at that. You'll never be able to compete. You have to compete somewhere else. And the place to compete is in your community. You're still renting to a community. Even if you're in Houston, a city as big as that, you still have your local community. People will only go so far to rent unless they feel like there's just absolutely no other option. They're only going to go so far from where they live. So y'all are very creative. I love the exchange that's going on here with the managers. And I think this is where the managers who are creative and hardworking are going to shine and really outshine everyone else. They're going to come in there and do things that are really outside the box. We can talk about signs and funny things on signs. Maybe you don't have a reader board sign, so you have to think of something else. You've really got to be out there thinking about things that are going to attract attention and that get you in the local newspaper and get people thinking of you in a positive way, the way Melissa said. It's not going to be the same old. It's going to be, the pets thing, something slightly different, slightly off kilter. And the other thing I'd like to say is the successful managers are going to be the ones that are out there paying attention to who their customers are. I see that so often where people are just like, I don't really know who's renting from me and I don't care. I'll just take whoever comes along. And you've got to be tuned into what is important to the people you're selling to. Just like in every other industry in the world, you have to know what resonates with them, what they're going to react to. And if you're not doing that, you need to hire a professional that will help you do that to figure it out, because you're going to spin your wheels otherwise. You're going to do things and spend money on things that are not meaningful to your potential customer. Who wants to do that? Who wants to take money and throw it away? It might feel good for a little while to do something like that, but it's not going to get you anywhere. I'll stop now, Tommy.
Ginny,
You're the market.
I love everything that you just said, right? There's been a sentiment of late, and it started about about 2 years ago, of managers are going to be replaced by robots.
Right.
Right. And is it happening? I'm sure it is, right? I mean, there are companies who specialize in that type of storage management, but I think at least for the foreseeable future, we're operating as if there's going to be humans involved. And I think you nailed it there by saying the humans who are the managers who are observant, the managers who are keeping an eye, the managers who are coming up with these creative ideas. Those are the ones that can't be replaced by a robot,
Exactly.
because those stores, and we saw this SSA demand study, facilities that are manned by humans make more money than facilities who don't have humans. And so there's still a business model there that involves really awesome people. So Jenny, I think you nailed it there. I think
Well,
2024 is going to
and
be
we can
that
talk
year.
a lot about artificial intelligence, but it only goes so far. You can only go so far with artificial intelligence. I know this directly. I know any of you who've tried artificial intelligence to use to generate things. You look at what it comes up with, and it's kind of like not quite right, not quite what it should be. We've seen everything. If you try to do photos, for example, and try to be creative on social media, we did that and used some artificial intelligence, and it would leave a leg off of something, like a person, or leave
Yeah,
some weird little glitchy thing. It's not perfect. And, relying on artificial intelligence isn't going to get you all the way there. You still have to include your own brain power and bring to the table what's truly important for your own community. And,
I love
not
that.
so.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I think we're on the same page with that, Tommy. But you just see it in cycles. You see it where marketing wasn't as important to people, or they started to feel like it wasn't as important. Shame on them, because their brand suffered during that time, that interim time that they let the brand kind of fall by the wayside. It's like now you're having to pick that up again and try to get it out there in front of people instead of just maintaining that through the good times. So don't do that. Don't do that, people. You got to keep it going year round, good times, bad times. You're
Listen to
visible.
Ginny. Listen to Ginny. All right. So we're gonna enter the lightning round here. So the ground rules of the lightning round, you have how many seconds should we give them, Melissa?
Oh gosh.
Oh, no, it's a time thing.
Let's
Yeah.
let's do 60 seconds. I feel like
Six-
this is a big
I know
decision.
these are bigger questions. So
Yeah.
60-second lightning round. The poll is still up for anyone who wants to submit the poll. Thank you for all the people who have submitted your responses. That's awesome. We're going to do the drawing after we do question of the week for the Amazon $100 gift cards. But let's enter the lightning round. Ground rules, you have 60 seconds and each person can have 60 seconds. So I'm going to start with the first question here. What are the Nick mentioned earlier, back to basics. What are the storage basics or fundamentals that all operators should focus on in 2024? Nick, I'm gonna start with you.
Getting out in your community, grassroots marketing. There's nothing more important than that. And answering the phone. If you can do those two things, you can take care of the person when they give you a call and you answer it. You answer their questions. You don't have to be a true storage expert. So we tell all of our new people, just answer the phone and talk to them. They're just looking for a good personality. Once you get them to the store, you can help them pick a unit.
There you go.
Beautiful. Jane.
Putting on your customer mindset. I think that is something that gets missed so much. And that goes across the board for everything you do. I mean, and these are basic things, like you've heard it 100 times about how your facility looks, how, but think about being the tenant and take that from every step of the way, from using your website to answering the phone to you name it, every little bit. Take off your blinders. Don't be the storage owner who's thinking, or the storage manager for that matter, thinking about it from your business side. Think about it from your customer side. That will make all the difference, because you got to get those roadblocks out of the way. You have to think the way they are doing it. And if it's been a while since you rented a unit yourself, go out and rent a unit, because it's an eye-opening experience to see how you as the customer will perceive things.
Great advice. Great advice. Go rent a unit, everybody. And that's how we can help our own industry. Go rent from a neighbor as well. No.
There you go.
Jane,
And be
same
grateful
question.
that you're not renting office space the way that Tammy or someone who's just like, ooh, office space. That's a tough one. That's a real hard.
So Jane,
Yeah.
back to basics, fundamentals that operators should focus on in 2024. Go.
Not so much go rent a unit. Watch over your mother's shoulder as she rents a unit. That's going to give you basically all your pain points. You get your mother to rent a unit. If it works well for her, you're golden. Other than that, be genuine and it's service with a smile.
That's awesome. I love
Mama
it.
knows best. That's
Good
awesome.
advice.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh, goodness. All right. Next lightning round question is, how do you think the industry will perform in 2024?
Start with me again.
Go for it.
I think we see occupancy bounce back. We had a downturn there. We've seen mortgage rates at least steady out and come back down a little bit. By March, I think we'll see our typical uptick hit again. We'll be filling occupancies. Yes, at lower rates than the past 2 years, but I think we're back to that normal market cycle.
Good news.
Yeah, right?
Well,
Are
we
we
all
going in
wanted
the
to
same
hear,
order?
Nick. Thanks.
And I echo the same thing that Nick said, but I guess I would say it depends on where you are. It depends on your market. If you're in a growing market, things should be pretty rosy. The fundamentals haven't changed. People still need storage for all the reasons that they always needed storage. So if you have people moving into your area, you should be on the leading edge. If you're in a declining area, it's going to be harder. And you really have to work a lot harder to get that. There's only so much you can control when your market is declining. But I think it just depends on where you are. If you're in Texas, pretty much everywhere, you're in a good situation. Like Nick said, the rates won't be what they were before, during COVID or since then. But all our members are telling us their rates are still higher than they were in 2019. And so they're still up. They're just not up by as much. So I would expect that to continue. And I think rates will stabilize.
Love it. Jane?
The asset class is going to have solid performance. I mean, it's proven itself year over year. So from an asset class perspective, let's be thankful we're not in the office or a couple of the other asset classes. Definitely depends on your market. Not only your market, because there's going to be some oversupply areas. There's going to be areas where just the economic situation's not good in that area at the moment. So there's going to be those things. But for the most part, it's a solid performance. You also have to take into consideration the ones Nick was talking about earlier that haven't made such great decisions on the buy side. But overall, it's a solid performer.
Love it. Hey, so we're still bullish on the baby. So all right.
There's
So
never been a really long, protracted decline for self-storage ever. So we really have no reason to think there will be one now.
there you have it, y'all.
Right.
All right. So question of the week. Why do you love the storage industry? It's a great way to end the year. Why do you love self-storage? I'm going to start with Jane, and then I'm going to go to Nick, and then I'm going to end it with Ginny Sutton. So Jane, why do you love self-storage?
Oh my goodness. There's so much about the industry to love. Jeannie referenced earlier how it draws the absolute most salt of the earth type of people to start with. The business model is just tremendous itself. What I love most about it, though, hands down, is getting to have a bird's eye view, getting to be a part of truly helping everyday folks build generational wealth. This is an industry where you look around at the owner operators, they may not have been born into it. Many were, but many weren't. They just came in as a manager and now they have equity and ownership in these, or they've just moved up within the company. So our industry is so open and welcoming and rewarding to the folks who get after it and are willing to put the work in. We don't do handouts. Our industry does not do handouts. So, so let's be clear on that. But if you're willing to work, there's so many people in this industry willing to help you make it work. And truly, that generational wealth, I don't know of any other asset class really that empowers that across the board.
That's so cool. I love
Wow.
that.
That is cool.
How do we follow this, Nick?
See
How
that
do
a
we
lot.
follow that?
Yeah, it's fun going to the shows and just meeting that they are so salt of the earth. I would say, you hear it all the time. It's the people and how sharing and giving they are, getting to know the customers. But really what I love is from top to bottom, just the people that you work with and what you get to do every day. You wear so many hats in this industry, from the store manager, even up through upper management. No one has a monotonous job where they do the same thing and they're just doing data entry or something like that all day. Your customer service, your sales, your marketing, your collections, you're the janitor, you do it all from the bottom to the top. And so that's just fun because every day's a new day and you learn something new every day and you see a new face, and that just makes it fun for me.
You left out therapist. Yeah.
So true.
Yes.
Jenny,
I
you've
don't
been
know
in
what
this
else.
industry 26 plus years. Why have you been in it for so long, and why do you love it?
Well, I really, they stole all my answers. Those were all the things that I would say. There is just something intrinsic about the people in this business that I have not experienced in other industries. Maybe they're just natural givers. Maybe they just like to help people. They like, some of them like to make money too. I would say that that's a good combination if you like to help people and you like to build the wealth that Jane talked about. I love the fact that managers are creative and that they think through things, and that some of them really want things just handed to them as an answer, and we get that some of the time, where they're saying, just tell me the answer, just tell me exactly what to do, especially on the legal side of things. I get it. And the nice thing is that in this industry there are so many people who have come before you who have figured things out, and I have yet to encounter another industry where people are as open and willing to share. as this one. I have yet to come across it, where they're just like, okay, I'll help you. I love the way Jane said it. You got to do a little of the work yourself. People are not going to give you a handout. They expect you to show that you're worthwhile and that you're not just some creep, but they will help you and they will answer your questions. And I mean, I can have new people ask me questions about things I don't know about. I'm like, well, let me give you a couple other names and phone numbers, including Tommy Wynn. I gave his number to somebody recently. And, they call them and they actually answer the question for them versus other industries where you would feel like, okay, I'm going to throw them to the wolves. They're not going to get anywhere with it. You go to some conferences, you go to Inside Self Storage, the Self Storage Association, your state association for sure, local luncheons, whatever, you're going to have people who will help you. And I love that about them. And I've never seen another industry be quite so good at that as sharing their own experiences and teaching you in a way that's not going to make you fail. Because some other industries set you up, it's like, I'm going to tell them this because they're young and they don't know what they're doing and they're going to make some bad decisions. They really genuinely do care about other people. Maybe that's self-serving to a certain extent. The better the industry is, the better it is for everybody, period, the end, but it has been a joy to be a part of it. And I'm going to miss it a lot.
We're going to see you around. I'll see you in Austin.
Yeah.
I'm placing my bets. Y'all, thank you for coming on. What a fabulous season. I guess, Melissa, I'm gonna ask you the same question.
I think we both need to answer the question.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite thing about this industry is the variety of people. You have corporate level where they're thinking about it on the REIT standpoint and they've got their investors and they're, it's very number centered. And you've got the mom and pop that this is built on, a couple acres down the street from their house. They run it from their cell phone and a clipboard, and you have everything in between. And I love in my role where I get to work with the state associations. And I know, Ginny, you probably feel the same way. Like, you get to meet all of the in-between people. And the questions that I get and hey, can you help me with this? Or, hey, can you, give me a resource for this kind of thing? I love the variety of people and how they are embracing this industry and how one can compete right down the street from the other. And both have success in different ways. It measures out different, where your extra space is, bringing in $1 amount and your mom and pop is bringing in another. But for them, it's success and they are enjoying it and it's doing what they need to build the wealth that they need. And so I love that piece of it, that it's a good fit for a lot of different people in a lot of different walks of life. And I like working with all of them.
That's amazing. There are some good old boys and good old girls in our industry.
There are.
So
Tommy needs to post pictures of himself wearing his cowboy hat from Texas. That was not something you saw all the time.
It's not. That's my cowboy villain arc. Be on the lookout. That's going to be the biggest change for 2024 for me. No, what I love most about self-storage, man, I think the kindness, the people in our industry, but kindness, I'd like to qualify what that means to me. I think willingness to share, I mean, y'all are here. You spent, over an hour just dropping knowledge on people, and you can, like Jenny said, you can literally just call anybody. I could call Nick Newcomb, and in fact, I actually have a question for you, Nick. Where did you move offices recently?
We just moved
tell me about your new neighbor.
Little suburb north of the town we were in, but it's double the size. So we've been adding to the corporate team. It's been a fun year.
Yeah, and Nick is now next door to someone who they love.
Yeah, well, it's a competitor who keeps building across the street from me, but I referred him to Tommy, and now he's a customer. And their website looks just like ours. They're just really doing a good job at copying us, but it's been fun.
Way to go, Joey! Yeah, no, so Joey's in the audience, and he represents the competitor in our city, and that's the kind of vibes we have in this industry. you
We
know?
try to share. Yeah, I mean, you get everybody on the same platform. One term that you hear all the time is "a rising tide floats all boats," and that's really how everyone carries themselves in this industry. They want to see the other person succeed because they know, it's going to help the industry, and in turn, it's going to help them.
Facts, 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 facts. So yes, that's what I love most about self-storage, man. So experts, before we give away some money, how would people contact you if they wanted to learn more about brokership, about owning a storage facility, about grandbabies? Jane Sauls, how do people find you?
I can be reached on my cell, 770-328-2379. Email is jane@solstoragegroup.com. I am on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. I welcome the follow there. So be sure to chime in. And of course, just the website, solstoragegroup.com as well.
There you go. Jane can be found everywhere. Nick Newcomb, do you want to be found? And if so, how can people talk to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, anybody can ask questions anytime. My email is nick@stomax.com. That's NICK@STOMAX.com. And you can give me a call too, 601-573-2504.
There you go. And then Ginny Sutton, do you want to retire to the sunset, or?
I was going to say, are you going to ask me that same question? Do you want to be found? Because the answer is no, I don't. I am riding off into the sunset, and I think the best way for people to reach out to is to my successor, Christy Spur, who's taking over. She's worked with us for 4 years, and she's picking it up and running with it, and everything is continuing to go as it should. So the Texas Self-Storage Association website, or call them, and that's www.txssa.org or 888-259-4902. And you can Google it and find it probably just as easily. But if someone really wanted to reach out to me I would say through LinkedIn, because my LinkedIn profile is still there. It will still be there. I will say that I'm retired on LinkedIn, but I will still be around, and they can reach out to me that way.
There we have it.
Congrats, Jenny.
Yeah, seriously, congratulations. Well deserved, well earned.
It.
And yeah, and then honestly, like, I'll just point this out, like, where else can we just get people's like cell phone numbers? You know?
That's true.
Like, that's really cool. This show and every other show is available at storagepug.com/resources. You can check out 3 years worth of content. Storagepug.com/resources. Also on the Gabfocus Self-Storage Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And be on the lookout for the 2024 season. A lot of the topics that we talked about today, grassroots marketing, sales for managers, all of these awesome things that are going to help humans do better next year in 2024. That's our emphasis. We're going back to basics. So be on the lookout for that. So now, for all the folks who are still in the audience, are you ready to win some money? So we have $300 gift cards. Everyone's names are on this thing. And I'm going to click the start button. Ground rules, very simple. All you have to do is be in the room and comment if your name is called. Are we all ready?
There's still 100 people on the call.
All right, let's go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Suspense. All right,
While we're waiting for that, people are asking for Nick to repeat his phone number.
Nick, do you care to repeat your phone number?
601-573-2504.
Boom. All right, Brian Rankin, are you in the house? Nope. Sorry, Brian.
Oh,
there's a Brian, not this Brian though. Sorry, Brian. All right. See you later.
Left too soon.
Gone. He's out of there.
We're out of here. Soon we have to just do first names. All the Chris's win.
Yeah, well, all the Carlys. You have people who are several.
Brad
Adams. I don't see you, Brad. See you, Brad.
Oh my goodness.
This is a lot of names though. I think there's like 500 names.
Oh my gosh.
Sarah LaFleur. Sarah, are you in the room?
Nope.
No, Sarah. All right. One more, then we're just gonna do first name. If your first name matches, you win.
Oh boy,
Does it
and
have
it's
to be
first
spelled
come,
right?
first serve, huh,
Oh,
in the
that's a good
chat.
point. Teresa, is there a Teresa in the house? Any?
Denise,
I don't see her.
Oh my
What
goodness.
are this?
this is the way it goes. Yeah.
We just want to give you some money,
Somebody said, "Where'd you get this wheel?"
right?
Like random generators. Where did you get this, Tommy?
This is an AI generated wheel. These are fake names.
Wheelofnames.com.
Wheelofnames.com. Lori, is there?
Lori?
There's not even a Lori. All right.
Man, these people had to get back to work.
I
Um,
guess
for
we did go a little over.
yeah, for our panelists, if you guys could in the chat, put your contact information and post it to everyone, because there's a couple that have missed
Ah.
when it's been said out loud.
we're over 6.
Oh my goodness.
Like Janet Suarez says, "I am Lori."
Adrian, is there an Adrian in the house? You know what? There's an Andrew in the house, and that's close enough for me. Andrew Ekman, congratulations.
There you go.
Garrett, we have
Andrew.
winner number 1, Andrew Ekman.
Roland said, "Can we guess a number between 1 and 10?" I don't know how that would work. Everybody would win.
There's still 100 people on the call.
Yeah,
I know.
105. Yeah.
Sally. Is Sally in the house? Sally. Oh, this is Sally Pug. Sally Pug, I'm gonna have to I guess you can win $100. That's okay with me. Sally Jernigan, congratulations.
Yay!
Yay. All right, here
Sally
we go.
Pug.
And
You're removing them and then it automatically generates. It's very sophisticated.
David Austin is also a bug.
David?
There's some collusion going on. Who created this wheel?
That's great.
Boo. Yeah, somebody says boo.
Boo bugs. Mary Fisher. Is there a Mary in the house? There's got to be a Mary.
Fisher. There's got to be a Mary.
There's 2 Mary Fishers.
There are. They get to fight over it.
They get to
Really?
fight over it. So congratulations. And let's do one more. So Mary, congratulations. One of the Mary Fishers left. so we have a winner.
There you go.
Yay.
So last but not least here. Ding, ding, ding. Last winner,
Well,
chicken dinner.
John
Trish
said he
Aber-
preemptively claims all John winners.
Yes. Trish, there's not a Trish Abraham. I love my girl Trish, but Trish Laverne is
Mary
in the
Fisher
house.
is here. Mary Fisher.
Welcome. So Andrew Ekman, Mary Fisher, Trish Laverne, congratulations. Y'all want it? Garrett will gift with y'all. We're gonna do like a virtual Amazon gift card. It'll be real easy. He'll send you a little code. You claim it. You buy some Christmas presents. Congratulations, all the winners. What a fabulous show. I'm gonna say
Fun.
goodbye so we can turn off the recording. But Ginny, again, congratulations on 26
Thank you.
fantastic years, and have fun in your retirement.
I appreciate it very much.
Nick, Jane, thanks for coming out, y'all.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Melissa, what a year this has been.
I know.
Excited
Another
for
one.
2024.
Me too, friend. Me too.